the last 20 years, the Honda Civic Type R has been made in the UK. EP3, FN2, FK2, FK8, every single one was built here in Swindon. But now, that long production run has come to an end. The new Honda Civic Type R will be built in Japan. So we're better placed to say goodbye to the FK8 than on the very roads where it was tested. The Type R's local shakedown route.
There have been some exceptions to the UK-based Type R production run. The very first, the EK9 in the late 1990s, was built and sold in Japan, as was the FD2 in 2007. But by and large, every Civic Type R has had Swindon on its birth certificate. Waving goodbye to this, the FK8, Honda decided to do something a little different. Alongside the regular Type R, it created the Type R Limited, a lighter, track-orientated FK8 of which just 100 have been made. And this, the Type R Sport line, an ever so slightly quieter, less in-your-face and more road-friendly machine.
But let's face it, is it actually fooling anyone? Personally, I really like the idea of a sleeper Type R, the same performance but without the angry face and the big rear wing. But that isn't what this is. Because you get the same wheel arches, the same stance, the same angry face, the same triple exhaust, and then a slightly smaller rear wing. You're not fooling anyone. Honda actually used the word understated to describe this car. Really? Is that really what this is? I don't think so.
Honda has done more than shrink the rear wing in an attempt to make the Sportline a less intense experience though. The red pinstripe that ran around the entire base of the car has gone, as has the pinstripe around the edge of the wheels. On the inside, the bright red seats are now all black, although there are still red seat belts, red patches on the steering wheel, red stitching and red pinstriping across the dash. The changes that really matter are the addition of extra sound insulation in the rear and, instead of black 20-inch rims, dark grey 19s, shod with Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tyres instead of Continentals.
So, how does it feel? Well, first of all, you get the same 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. So you've got 320 horsepower and 400 newton meters of torque. 0 to 62 miles an hour takes 5.8 seconds. And the top speed is 169 miles an hour. 169 in a Honda Civic. That's still ridiculous. It's such a meaty engine as well. You can either leave it in a high gear, let's say 4th, and just wait for the boost to build, wait for the torque to arrive, or you can drop it down, say 3rd, and rev it out, and it'll reward you. And it's crazy to think just how much more powerful this is than the EP3. It's got 120 horsepower more and more than double the torque. Double! Now I know it's a completely different engine. I know this one's turbocharged. The EP3 wasn't. It was naturally aspirated. But still, that is ridiculous. And it's all still going through the front wheels. You've got the same gearbox too, which is fantastic. It's got a slightly different lever now compared to the early FK8s. You've got the same steering, which is fabulous, and you've got the same diff, which it isn't quite as aggressive as it was in the FK2. I think that had the most aggressive of all Type Rs, but still, when you put your foot down, 2nd or 3rd, even if it's a damp road, you can just feel it tugging, pulling away at the road, just searching for grip. It's a properly intense experience. The sound insulation? Well, you can notice a difference when you're on the motorway. It is a little bit quieter, but I think to actually gauge how much quieter it is, you probably need to measure it with actual scientific equipment. By ear, it's still a Honda Civic Type R. It's not now suddenly a Rolls-Royce Phantom. The wheels and tyres, on the other hand, those you do notice. In every FK8 you've had this little switch down here on the centre console, which is for the drive modes. There are 3 drive modes. There's Comfort, Sport and Plus R mode. Comfort is, well, can you guess it's the most comfortable. Sport, that's the middle ground, that's the default when you turn the car on, and Plus R mode is the most hardcore. Now the drive modes adjust the throttle response, the steering weight and the firmness of the dampers. So traditionally on a lot of British roads you'd want to avoid Plus R mode. It was just too hard. Not anymore, it isn't. It is still firm, it is still bouncy, but because of those smaller wheels and because the tyres themselves have got a slightly softer sidewall, you can just enjoy Type R mode more of the time. And this car's more rounded edges haven't come at the expense of driving performance either. This thing still absolutely rips. Honestly, you can just hop in one of these and feel instantly connected. There's no second guessing what the car is doing. And I know the FK8 was tested all over the world on the Nürburgring, but now I've driven its local test route, how well this thing drives makes even more sense. These roads are epic.
What's not to like? Well, the net-like fabric on the seats looks cool, but is harsh to the touch and really not that pleasant. The infotainment system feels about as up-to-date and as fresh as a penny farthing. The smaller wheels, well, they don't fill the arches quite as well as the 20 inches. And for this refreshed FK8 Type R, Honda has introduced some synthesized engine noise into the cabin. It certainly adds something, but I don't think that something is very good.
But then there's the good stuff. The driving position is near enough perfect, the seats are super supportive. Then you've got the chassis plate mounted on the centre console as you've had in every Type R. EP3, FN2, FK2, FK8. And you've got a metal gear lever. Again, you've had one in EP3, FN2, FK2, FK8. What a car. What a silly, silly, but brilliant car. It's a real shame the next Type R won't be built in Swindon, there's no denying that, but what a run it's had.